we are going to discuss XRP. This video will now be the first of 3. Throughout the day today, the remaining 2 sections will go live. Although I didn't finish them in time, I really wanted to release them yesterday. However, I must address the current decline in XRP before I even begin. The 1-month chart is shown here. At $2.76, we are seated here. We are going to come down and touch this low back here, I saw folks saying now. Then we'll get back up after $2.75. However, no one is certain if that will actually occur. You can never call this market 100%, as I have always said. The thing I'm suggesting is that we might drop considerably lower. Additionally, the escrow unlock is today. There will undoubtedly be a lot of rumors about XRP because of its declining price and the simultaneous escrow unlock. However, we usually see them locked back 700 to 800 million XRP once Ripple unlocks the escrow. It occurs every month. However, you may either purchase the dip or do nothing when you see the market like this. The dip is not something you sell into. As previously said, this will be the first of 3 parts, which I will refer to as origins. So let's begin on this particular date. Joel Katz and David Schwartz filed the patent that would influence blockchain technology and cryptocurrencies as we know them on August 25, 1988. However, there were other events in 1988 as well. This was covered by The Economists. Prepare for a global currency. Was this an announcement or a prediction? And you witness the phoenix emerging from the paper money's ashes. To put it another way, XRP is a substitute for cash in a cashless society. Some might support XLM. Actually, I believe it will be both. However, this was also made around that time. Larry Fink and 8 other partners co-founded BlackRock in 1988. No one else has their cutting-edge technology, big vision, and tiny beginnings. Others trusted their instincts, while others understood. Computer models were created by BlackRock. Their system was named Aladdin. Additionally, I think BlackRock is a top-tier shell corporation. I believe there was a purpose. It was developed in 1988, the same year the blockchain patent was announced. And many people have long claimed that BlackRock was born out of this. One of the worst stock market meltdowns in history occurred on Black Monday in 1987. In 1987, the expected global losses were a staggering 1.71 trillion USD. Let's return to BlackRock though. In this video clip, Jim Rickards discussed BlackRock. You know, BlackRock was definitely made by the elites, I always assumed. Thus, BlackRock could just take in a ton of money. The aristocrats would return later and simply reclaim their property. Listen to this out.
I was having dinner with a friend not long ago in New York City. We met at a place called Oriole, which is in Midtown. My dinner companion that night was a senior advisor to BlackRock. As you may know, BlackRock is now the largest asset manager on the planet. It directly manages $5 trillion in assets, and it oversees another $11 trillion through its Aladdin platform. That means one firm controls more money than the GDPs of China, Russia, and Japan combined. Anyway, my dinner companion happens to work directly for BlackRock's CEO. As we nursed our white wine and the evening wore on, she let something slip. If I remember her words, she said something like, "They want to tell us we can't sell." What was she talking about? Who was she talking about? I placed a few calls, first to my contacts in Washington, then to a few people on Wall Street. Soon I was on a plane for a series of meetings to London, to Geneva, back to New York, then down to South America. As I began connecting the dots, a pattern emerged. It revealed a network of more than 189 individuals positioned inside the world's major financial institutions. Some of them hold senior positions inside the IMF, World Bank, and every central bank in the G20, including our own Federal Reserve. These elites share one vision, and they're about to make it a reality. That vision is one world order, one world taxation, and one world money. They've worked for years behind the scenes preparing to realize that vision. They've literally rigged the laws of international finance. Everything is basically in place right now, and there's essentially no way to stop this from happening. When the crisis hits, they'll flip the switch, freezing the global financial system. That will give them time to reset the world economy according to their vision. As the coming crisis unfolds, President Trump will be powerless to stop it. In fact, trying to stop them would probably weaken the president's power altogether.
That is amazing, Jim, really. So what did these elites want from your contact at BlackRock?
Basically, they want to classify BlackRock as too big to fail. The technical term is Systemically Important Financial Institution, or SIFI. That designation normally applies to banks, such as Bank of America. If your bank gets the SIFI label, it means the government will bail you out first in a crisis. But it also means you must turn over control of your bank until the crisis subsides. In this case, they're trying to reclassify BlackRock, an asset manager, as too big to fail. If they succeed, they'll be able to freeze BlackRock when the crisis hits. BlackRock clients won't be able to sell. They won't be able to buy either. Their accounts will go dark indefinitely. And the elite operatives will take control of BlackRock's assets remotely via the internet. But our research shows that their ICE 9 plan goes much, much deeper than that.
So consider that. In order to simply drain BlackRock of all its resources, they would seize control of those assets and essentially reclaim them. I am also aware that this video clip is older. Why hasn't this occurred yet then? It's because we haven't reached that point yet. Over the next few years, this is probably going to occur. In a future video, I'll go into greater detail about that. Let's begin by providing a brief overview and narrative of Ripple's history. Today cleanse. Ripple Labs, OpenCoin, XRP, XRP Pay, and XRP Ledger. Ripple Pay was discovered in 2004. 2012, creation of the XRP Ledger. OpenCoin discovered it in 2012. XRP Ledger founder's gift in 2012 to OpenCoin. 2012, Ripple Pay is purchased by OpenCoin. 2013, Ripple Labs replaced OpenCoin. Ripple Labs changed its name to Ripple in 2015. That's how we got to where we are now, and Arthur Brito, David Schwartz, and Jed McCaleb were responsible for creating that Ripple. They wanted to create a better Bitcoin, and XRP is just that. You won't spend all of the world's money on a slow, costly thing. You need something quick, inexpensive, and energy-free as well. As we watch, some would argue that this is where the beast system that is currently being developed originated. The PayPal mafia is another topic I will cover in future episodes. Has it ever occurred to you that they all adore the letter X? Twitter equals X, SpaceX, XRP, XLM, and PayPal equals X. The XRP ledger will be linked to Xcurrent, XVF, and X.com, which can use XRP for ODL liquidity in the background. Additionally, they can use XLM for retail. Don't ask me how, I have no idea. Thus, consider it this way. Elon Musk is aware of what Ripple is, as we all know. He is aware of what XRP is. He is aware of what XLM is. All of these individuals have long-standing relationships. For this reason, I never stopped saying, first you see XRP. It will be more than simply XRP though. There will be a significant role for XLM in this. In this new financial system, XDC, HBAR, and others will be involved. Although it will be enormous, a small number of coins will govern it. Why though the letter X? Its beginnings as a non-national, decentralized digital asset that adheres to the ISO 4217 currency standard for commodities like gold and silver are symbolized by the letters X and XRP. Additionally, it was a reference to the original phrase Ripple credits, where the X denoted the asset's wider transnational character and its independence from any particular nation's currency. The ISO 4217 standard is broken out here. An international standard for currency coding includes the X prefix. The X is a suitable prefix for historical ties because XRP is a neutral, transnational digital asset that is not associated with any one nation. After that, you'll notice that it's connected to Ripple credits and was made to conform to the currency code convention. But X is a part of XRP for that reason. Does this sound like you? XRP and XLM are leading the charge in the years-long construction of a global cross-border financial system by the IMF, World Bank, and BIS. We told the world years ago that one strengthens peer-to-peer transactions, while the other maximizes liquidity. Click here to listen to this clip.
This is the universal new world, one world system. Currently, and please don't take my word for this, currently the World Bank, the International Monetary Fund, the Bank of International Settlements are diligently working with so-called governments, obviously central banks, and AI experts around the world. And I'm going to give you one guess as to who of those experts is. You think about who that might be, because it's getting floated out quite a lot lately. Anyway, again, currently these institutions, including the International Monetary Fund, the World Bank, the Bank of International Settlements, are diligently working towards implementing this new entirely token-based cross-border trans-world system, which we are going to use to track, trace, log, monitor, control, consolidate, and reduce everything into a token. Even you.
And we are currently working toward that planet. They want to tokenize, which is why I talk about it a lot on this channel. Everything is valuable, but you will also be included in tokenization. You are aware that the digital ID they frequently discuss will eventually be tokenized by another party. I've heard others discuss that throughout time, but I'm still trying to understand how an individual turns into a tokenized asset. I mean, I could see, well, your social security number makes you a tokenized asset, or an asset of the US government, everyone would say. However, others claim that you can now manage your own currencies. I'm not sure if I would go that far, but I think this is the start of the number of the beast system that has been discussed in the crypto world for years. Listen to this out. The World Bank is about to be replaced by Ripple.
So if you hold XRP, you own at least one XRP is 1/100 billionth of all the wealth of the human race.
What would that make for the entity Ripple then?
Well, that would make Ripple the World Bank.
Interesting. And let's expand upon that. What does that mean for those in the audience who might not be engaged in the XRP community or have an understanding of what the World Bank entails?
Well, I'm sure as people who have never heard this before or aren't aware of Ripple and XRP, they're listening to this and they might think, oh, this guy's a conspiracy theorist, right? They don't know, because somebody like me who has studied finance going back to the Roman Empire, going back to before that, all the way back to the stone money dials on Yap Island in the Federated States of Micronesia. When you look at the patterns and history of money to where we are right now, after the petrodollar, after we came off the gold reserve, there's really only one competitor to be the global reserve currency, only one thing that can come in and replace the dollar, and that is XRP.
I will now state that there will be several global reserve currencies. Additionally, David Schwartz stated in a video that there might be more than one world reserve currency. Perhaps HBAR, XRP, XLM, and possibly even XDC would be included. Still, it's too early to say. However, Ripple is undoubtedly on the verge of becoming the World Bank. They currently own XRP and are applying for a banking license. We would be the bank of Ripple's branches. The CEO of Ripple, Brad Garlinghouse, has actively participated in World Economic Forum events. His participation in conversations on the direction of digital finance represents a link between established financial systems and developing digital economies, representing a common goal. Thus, we are aware that Brad Garlinghouse is a World Economic Forum member. Larry Fink has joined the World Economic Forum as a co-chair. Therefore, I think many people still wish to deny that BlackRock and Ripple are not on the same objective. Digital identification is what they are both aiming for. Brad Garlinghouse made several references to it. Larry Fink has often stated that the necessity of a digital ID will be further cemented by the development of AI. However, observe who is speaking with the president. A few months ago, Brad Garlinghouse and Stuart Alderoty met with Donald Trump, but they also had a meeting with the president before his appointment. Additionally, Ripple met with Donald Trump in 2017, 2018, and 2019, and you can see who else provides the president with advice. Larry Fink was recently engaged by Trump to assist him in finding a Treasury secretary. Can you see what's going on? However, BlackRock has also managed a significant portion of Donald Trump's wealth over the years. It's not a secret. The public is aware of it, even in light of the COVID crisis. During that time, BlackRock also stepped in and assisted. Every time a significant event occurs in the US, BlackRock is there to help. They also looked to BlackRock at the time of the 2008 meltdown. In my opinion, BlackRock is already positioned as an elite shell company, which is why it has so much influence. And Brad Garlinghouse is getting a seat at the most important tables in the world. So it would make sense if they were implementing this new number of the beast system that everyone talks about. Because they managed to profit from Bitcoin despite its limitations, they're now switching to Ethereum after realizing that they can profit from it as well. Furthermore, You genuinely don't believe BlackRock will profit from an XRP ETF. Indeed, and if they don't, it confirms that Brad Garlinghouse and Larry Fink. I believe that if BlackRock chooses not to apply for a spot XRP ETF, they are working together more closely than we all realize and have the same goal. The reason for this is that BlackRock already has a significant quantity of XRP in secret, since they couldn't possibly pass it up. We see the demand for the ETFs, and we're losing out on all that money and demand. However, I don't want to veer too far from the subject. What I wanted to show you was the beginning of all of this, which I believe began in 1988, when technology was still developing. As it was still relatively new, things began to take shape by 2004, at which point we saw the earliest indications of open currency and other similar initiatives. However, it took time. And now, take a look at Ripple's current position. Around the world, they have installed rail after rail. When this occurs, it will be a worldwide event. That being said, I will now conclude this video. Thank you for watching, everyone. Thanks to everybody. In the next one, I'll see you.